The arrival. The sky of Zyrrath Prime hung low and heavy, a thick purple haze swirling around jagged mountains and dense alien jungles. This was no place for the faint-hearted. Known throughout the galaxy as a Deathworld, Zyrrath Prime was a planet where every breath, every step, could be the last. Predatory plants with razor-sharp tendrils, venomous insects larger than a man's hand, and storms that raged with toxic spores made survival a brutal test of strength and will. Most species that settled here adapted or died. Some never even tried. But Kaela wasn't most. She sat quietly in the back row of the amphitheater-style lecture hall, her small frame hunched casually over her notes. Around her, the alien students fidgeted anxiously, their multifaceted eyes flicking nervously toward the windows, where the jungle loomed ominously. They whispered about the latest attack by the planet's carnivorous vines and the lethal sand spiders nesting nearby. Kaela's skin was pale compared to the leathery, scaled, or chitinous hides of her classmates. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy braid. She looked like she didn't belong here, too human, too fragile. But she had spent her entire life on Zyrrath Prime. She had survived since infancy, growing up in a harsh frontier settlement where only the toughest endured. At the front of the room, Professor Zellvar stood tall, his 6 limbs moving with precise coordination as he gestured toward a hollow projection of the planet's most dangerous fauna. His green eyes glinted with a mix of pride and disdain. "Zyrrath Prime is not a world for the weak," he said, his voice carrying an alien cadence that was at once both melodic and harsh. "Our species have evolved over millennia to master these challenges. You will learn to respect the dangers and to control them. Especially you, human." Kaela barely glanced up. The other students bristled at his tone, but the professor had a reputation for bluntness, and for underestimating humans. "Your species, fragile and soft, rely too much on technology and external protection," he continued. "Here, strength and instinct reign supreme. Let me demonstrate." The professor activated a chamber at the side of the room. A large container hissed open, revealing a creature that looked like a cross between a scorpion and a praying mantis. It snapped its pincers and curled its tail, venom dripping from the stinger. Gasps echoed through the hall. "Observe," Zellvar said, moving confidently toward the creature with a metallic tool in hand. "Any misstep, and it's death." The students watched as the professor deftly manipulated the creature, demonstrating how to avoid its attacks. The alien students whispered nervously about trying it themselves. Kaela remained seated, calm, almost bored. When the professor finished, he looked toward her with a raised brow. "You, human, would you like to try?" The room fell silent. Kaela nodded and slowly stood up. The professor handed her the tool, still eyeing her skeptically. The creature lunged immediately, pincers snapping inches from her fingers. But instead of flinching or retreating, Kaela caught the creature bare-handed, one smooth motion folding its limbs as if it were a toy. A stunned silence swept the hall. The professor's jaw tightened. "Impossible," he muttered. Kaela shrugged, sliding the creature back into containment with a careful hand. "It's just instinct," she said lightly. "Grew up with worse than this." Murmurs ran through the alien students. They glanced at Kaela with newfound curiosity and a hint of fear. Professor Zellvar scowled but quickly masked it with a smile. "Well, perhaps your species has some untapped potential after all," he said dryly. "But don't get too comfortable, human. There are limits to what you can do." Kaela sat back down, folding her arms. "I'm ready for the test whenever you are." The professor's eyes narrowed. "Good. We'll arrange something more challenging." As the lecture ended, the students filed out, whispering about Kaela's unexpected skill. The alien world of Zyrrath Prime was brutal, but for Kaela, it was home, and she was just getting started. The challenge. The lab was a stark contrast to the wilds outside. Gleaming metal surfaces, blinking consoles, and the sterile hum of advanced alien technology filled the space. Professor Zellvar's private research chamber was where he conducted his most delicate experiments, far from the prying eyes of students or colony officials. Kaela entered without hesitation, her casual confidence unwavering. The professor stood near the center of the room, his multiple limbs poised in what could only be described as an arrogant stance. He regarded her with cool curiosity and thinly veiled skepticism. "So, human," he began, voice smooth but edged with challenge, You claim to possess a strength that defies the natural limits of your species. I intend to test this claim. Let us see how you perform against one of my simulators." With a flick of his claws, the room's center shifted, transforming into a holographic combat arena. A shimmering figure took shape, an alien droid built for sparring, its limbs heavy and powerful. The professor's eyes gleamed with expectation. "You will fight it. No weapons, no enhancements. Pure strength and skill." Kaela smiled faintly, already settling into a relaxed seated position on a nearby bench. She didn't stand. Why bother? She'd learned long ago that raw strength wasn't always about muscle or height. It was precision, control, and patience. The droid lunged instantly, its heavy arms swinging with calculated force. The professor's eyes widened as Kaela moved, not rising, barely shifting her torso. With fluid grace, she deflected the first strike using only her forearm and wrist, absorbing the blow with minimal effort. The droid attacked again, faster this time. Kaela's fingers found a weak point in its joint as it raised a fist. Without standing, she twisted and squeezed, leveraging the droid's own momentum. A mechanical joint cracked audibly. The professor's mouth fell open. "You're breaking it," he stammered. Kaela's gaze remained calm. "Weak points exist everywhere," she said. "You just have to know where to find them." The droid retaliated with a spinning kick, but Kaela blocked it with a bench, barely flinching. Then, without rising, she delivered a swift, surgical strike to the droid's arm joint. With a loud snap, the droid's arm bent unnaturally, falling useless to its side. A hush fell over the lab. The professor's pride wavered visibly. "Remarkable," he muttered, rubbing the back of his head with a limb. How did you learn such control?" Kaela shrugged, folding her arms. "This planet doesn't forgive weakness. I grew up fighting for every breath, every step. Standing up wastes energy. Learning to end threats quickly, with as little movement as possible, keeps you alive." The professor stared, trying to process her words. "Your species, it's different from ours. You've adapted in ways no one expected." Kaela nodded. "You think humans are soft. Maybe you're right, compared to your kind. But you forget, we had to survive a death world of our own, once. Earth was no paradise. We had to learn resilience, endurance, and patience." The professor swallowed hard, his earlier arrogance replaced by grudging respect. "You've taught me something today. Perhaps we have underestimated your kind." Kaela stood, finally, but her movements remained composed, unhurried. She looked directly at Zylvar. "Not just underestimated. Ignored. But that's changing." The professor's eyes flicked to the broken droid arm and then back to her. "Very well, Kaela. I propose a more thorough investigation. I want to study your physiology, your limits." She raised an eyebrow. "On what terms?" "Equal," he said, surprising her. "Collaboration, not exploitation." Kaela hesitated a moment, then nodded. "Fine. But I lead." The professor's smile was tight but genuine. Outside the lab's reinforced windows, Zyrrath Prime's wild storms battered the alien jungle, a reminder that nature here was merciless. Inside, two very different worlds, the hardy human and the proud alien, had just taken the first steps toward understanding. As Kaela left the lab, whispers from the other students trailed behind her, words like unstoppable, alien strength, and human miracle. But Kaela didn't care about the rumors. For her, survival was never a competition. It was a way of life. Secrets of survival. The laboratory's sterile air did little to mask the simmering tension between Kaela and Professor Zylvar. Their alliance, fragile and uneasy, was now grounded in mutual curiosity. The professor had begun covert studies, more precise than any classroom test, observing Kaela's reactions to Zyrrath Prime's harsh elements and toxins. In the clinical glow of the lab, Kaela endured trials that would have shattered most alien students. The professor injected her with doses of native plant venom, tested her endurance in simulated storms, and monitored her heart and muscle responses. She remained calm, her body reacting with an efficiency that baffled the professor's instruments. "Your physiology is extraordinary," Zylvar admitted during one late-night session. "Your body neutralizes toxins and adapts to extreme conditions with speed and precision. This is unlike anything I have recorded. Kaela flexed her fingers, the scars from years of survival faint but present on her skin. Earth wasn't an easy place either, she said quietly. My parents taught me everything: how to read the land, how to conserve energy, how to survive when nothing else matters. The professor nodded slowly. Your survival isn't just physical. It's mental discipline. An instinct honed by necessity. Their studies were interrupted when alarms blared across the campus. An incoming storm, a massive cloud of toxic spores, was moving fast, threatening to engulf the settlement and the university grounds within minutes. Chaos erupted. Alien students and faculty scrambled to gather equipment and secure their positions. But Kaela stood calmly, her mind racing through contingency plans born from a lifetime of hardship. She immediately took charge, issuing clear, precise commands. Seal the northern gates. Everyone, mask up. Follow the evacuation routes I mapped out. Move calmly but quickly. Many aliens looked to her, stunned by her calm authority amid panic. Professor Zylvar watched with a mix of awe and reluctance as Kaela organized the evacuation. Your instincts, they're not just survival tricks. They're leadership. Kaela shrugged. When you live on a Deathworld, you learn fast that panic kills. Under her direction, the evacuation went smoothly. The toxic spores began to seep into the lower atmosphere, but the university's sealed domes and filtration systems held firm, thanks to Kaela's guidance in reinforcing weak points beforehand. As the storm raged outside, the professor approached her, his arm still healing from the sparring match but steady. You saved lives today, he said quietly. You forced me to reconsider everything I thought I knew about humans. Kaela met his gaze evenly. Maybe it's time you stopped thinking about limits and started thinking about possibilities. Word of her leadership spread quickly through the alien community. She wasn't just the human girl who could break an arm without standing. She was a symbol of resilience and hope on a planet where strength meant survival. After the storm passed, Zylvar made a public announcement. Today, Kaela demonstrated the true power of adaptation and will. We will initiate a joint research project to study human resilience and apply it to our survival strategies. Kaela stepped onto the platform beside him, her expression calm but proud. I'm not here to prove humans are better, she said. I'm here to show we all have something to learn, from each other and from this planet. The professor smiled, a genuine warmth in his voice. Indeed. This is only the beginning. As the sun broke through the dissipating clouds, the jungle around Zyrrath Prime pulsed with life. For the first time, the alien students looked at Kaela not as an oddity but as a teacher. And Kaela knew the fight for survival was far from over, but this time, she wasn't alone. New Horizons. The Joint Research Lab was a hive of activity, a blend of human pragmatism and alien ingenuity. What had started as a reluctant truce between Kaela and Professor Zylvar had blossomed into a partnership that was reshaping how Zyrrath Prime's inhabitants approached survival. Kaela sat cross-legged on the edge of a metal workbench, tinkering with a compact survival device she had helped design. The device combined alien environmental sensors with human efficiency, lightweight, energy-sipping, and durable enough to withstand Zyrrath's brutal storms. Around her, alien technicians and human engineers worked side by side, exchanging ideas with a newfound respect. The old barriers of prejudice and underestimation were slowly breaking down. Professor Zylvar approached, carrying a data slate loaded with the latest test results. His arm, once broken in their sparring match, was fully healed, but the memory of that moment still tempered his pride. The new filters you proposed have reduced spore penetration by 30%, he reported. Your insights into conserving energy have improved field survival times significantly. Kaela grinned without standing. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Deathworlds don't care about muscle mass, they care about patience and precision. The professor nodded thoughtfully. And your calm under pressure, your ability to adapt instinctively, is as valuable as any technology we develop. Kaela glanced at the jungle visible through the lab's reinforced windows, its alien foliage shimmering in the twilight. I've learned that fighting every battle head-on just wears you down. Sometimes, the best move is to wait, watch, and strike only when it counts. A group of alien students gathered nearby, their eyes bright with admiration. One approached hesitantly. Kaela, will you teach us? Your methods, they are different. But they work. Kaela smiled warmly. I'll teach anyone willing to listen. Survival is a universal language. Over the following weeks, Kaela led training sessions combining human combat techniques with alien technology, teaching patience, precision, and situational awareness. The results were remarkable. Aliens who once feared the Deathworld's dangers now faced them with renewed confidence. Professor Zelvar observed quietly from the sidelines, a mentor and student all at once. He had learned as much from Kaela as she had from him. Together, they were forging a new path forward, not just for humans or aliens, but for all who called Zyrrath Prime home. One evening, as the twin moons rose high over the planet's jagged horizon, Kaela sat in the amphitheater once more. This time, the room was filled with eager faces, humans and aliens alike. She demonstrated a new survival technique, moving slowly and deliberately, her voice steady and calm. Strength isn't just about power, she explained. It's about control. Understanding your limits, and then pushing beyond them without losing yourself. The students watched, mesmerized, as Kaela flawlessly executed maneuvers that conserved energy while maximizing effect. She didn't need to stand to command the room, her presence was enough. After the demonstration, Professor Zelvar stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of his transformed beliefs. Kaela has shown us that resilience is not exclusive to any one species. It is a quality we all can cultivate. And in doing so, we ensure not just survival, but growth. The room erupted in applause. As the crowd dispersed, Kaela lingered, looking out at the wilderness beyond. Zyrrath Prime was unforgiving, but it was also a crucible, a place where strength was forged in fire and shadow. And now, with new understanding and cooperation, the future looked brighter than ever. She caught the professor's eye and offered a small, knowing smile. Ready for the next challenge? He returned the smile, the last traces of arrogance gone. Always. Kaela settled back into her seat, unshaken, unyielding, the Deathworld human girl who casually broke an alien professor's arm without standing up, now a leader shaping a new era of survival.